General Krikstor of the Valerian Empire stood on the command deck of his warship, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. His fleet had conquered 17 worlds, and Earth would be the 18th. Intelligence reports indicated a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel. This would be effortless. "General, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," his communications officer announced. "Put it through," Krikstor commanded, his 4 eyes gleaming with anticipation. A human female appeared on screen, wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. "This is Colonel Morrison of the United Earth Defense Force. We've detected your fleet. State your intentions." Krikstor's laughter rumbled through the bridge. "Your world is now property of the Valerian Empire. Surrender or face annihilation." Colonel Morrison's expression didn't change. "That's unfortunate. You should have chosen diplomacy." The transmission ended. Krikstor dismissed it as bravado. Within hours, his invasion force descended on a military installation in the northern hemisphere. His troops, 7 feet tall with armored exoskeletons and plasma weapons, were unstoppable. Or so he thought. The first landing party encountered a small group of human soldiers taking defensive positions. Krikstor watched through drone footage, expecting a massacre. The humans had primitive projectile weapons, laughable compared to Valerian technology. Then something impossible happened. As plasma bolts filled the air, the humans didn't retreat. They advanced. One soldier took a glancing hit that would have killed most species instantly. The human stumbled, pressed a hand to the wound, and kept firing. Another human soldier dragged a wounded comrade to cover while simultaneously throwing an explosive device that decimated a Valerian squad. What kind of species continues fighting with such injuries? Krikstor's tactical officer whispered. But the real shock came when the humans began adapting. Within minutes, they'd figured out plasma bolt trajectories and were dodging fire. They used their environment with terrifying efficiency, turning every rock and building into an advantage. A human sergeant charged directly at a Valerian soldier twice his size. The Valerian raised his weapon, confident in close combat supremacy. The human rolled under the blast, came up inside the Valorian's guard, and used some kind of explosive device at point-blank range. Both were thrown backward, but only the human got back up. "Medic," the sergeant shouted, bleeding from multiple wounds. But instead of seeking treatment, he continued coordinating his squad. Krikstor's mandibles hung open. The Valorians had superior numbers, better technology, and greater physical strength. Yet they were losing ground. "General," his tactical officer said, voice trembling, "the humans aren't retreating. They're counterattacking." Krikstor zoomed in on the footage. A group of human soldiers was advancing directly toward the landing craft, moving with coordinated precision despite taking casualties. They showed no fear, no hesitation. For the first time in his military career, General Krikstor felt something unfamiliar: doubt. General Krikstor spent the night reviewing battle footage, trying to understand what went wrong. The humans had lost the engagement technically speaking, the Valorians held the landing zone. But the cost had been unprecedented. 37 Valerian soldiers dead, twice that number wounded. Against what should have been an inferior force. "Bring me their commander," Krikstor ordered. The Valorians had captured a human lieutenant during the fighting. The young man was brought to the command deck, hands bound, blood dried on his uniform. He should have been defeated, broken. Instead, he stood straight, eyes defiant. "I am General Krikstor. You will tell me about human military doctrine." The lieutenant smiled, splitting his lip further. "Name, rank, serial number. That's all you get." Krikstor leaned closer. "Your people are finished. We have superior technology, numbers, and strength. Why do you resist?" "Because we're human," the lieutenant said simply. "We don't quit." "I've seen your physiology reports," Krikstor continued. "Your bones are fragile. Your organs are unarmored. You require constant hydration and have limited endurance. You should not be effective soldiers. The lieutenant laughed, a harsh sound. You don't understand us at all. Yeah, we're fragile. That's exactly why we're dangerous. Explain. Every species you fought was stronger than us, right? Tougher, better natural weapons, thicker armor. The lieutenant's eyes gleamed. You know what that teaches you? That you can take hits. That you can rely on your body to protect you. We can't do that. One mistake and we're dead. So we learned not to make mistakes. We learned to be faster, smarter, more ruthless than anything trying to kill us. Krixtor considered this. You speak of evolution. I speak of necessity, the lieutenant corrected. Our homeworld is trying to kill us every day. Diseases, predators, weather, other humans. We evolved to be persistence hunters, we don't give up. Ever. You shoot us, we keep coming. You wound us, we adapt. You think you've won, and we find another way to fight. Your wounds should incapacitate you, Krixtor protested. Should. But we've got this thing called adrenaline. Pain suppression. Shock response. A human soldier can function with injuries that would kill most species. We've got medics who can patch us up enough to keep fighting. And we've got something else you don't understand. What? The lieutenant's smile was grim. We know we're going to die eventually. All humans do. So we're not afraid of it the way you are. We make peace with death and then use that fearlessness as a weapon. General Krixtor felt his certainty crumbling. He'd assumed human resistance would collapse once they understood the situation's hopelessness. But this lieutenant spoke as if hopelessness was just another obstacle to overcome. Take him back to holding, Krixtor commanded. As the human was led away, Krixtor's intelligence officer approached. General, we've intercepted human communications. They're not calling for surrender. They're calling for reinforcements and making jokes about our tactics. Jokes. Krixtor's translator must have malfunctioned. Yes, sir. One transmission said, and I quote, the aliens shoot fancy light beams but can't aim for shit. Hold positions and keep your heads down. They'll figure out we're crazy soon enough. General Krixtor stared at the planet below, a growing unease in his core. What kind of species joke during an invasion? 3 days into the occupation, General Krixtor's confidence had evaporated completely. The humans weren't fighting a conventional war. They were fighting a nightmare. Another supply convoy destroyed, General, his logistics officer reported. 17 soldiers dead. The attackers disappeared into the civilian population. How many humans did we eliminate? None, sir. They vanished before we could respond. Krixtor slammed his appendage on the console. The humans had abandoned their military installations after those first engagements. Now they were everywhere and nowhere. They attacked at night, during meal times, during shift changes. They'd learned Valerian routines in days and exploited every pattern. His soldiers were terrified to patrol human cities. The buildings all looked identical to Valerian eyes, creating a labyrinth where ambush waited around every corner. Humans used their knowledge of local terrain to devastating effect. Worse, the humans were learning. They'd captured Valerian weapons and were reverse engineering them. Already, some human soldiers were using plasma rifles against their original owners. General, we've captured a group of humans, his security chief announced. 5 soldiers hiding in a civilian structure. Interrogate them. But when Krixtor reviewed the interrogation footage, he was stunned again. The humans refused to break. They mocked their captors, gave false information, and wasted hours of Valerian time. One woman sang something called a sea shanty for 3 hours straight until her guards begged her to stop. More disturbing were the human tactics. They booby-trapped everything. A Valerian squad had entered an abandoned building, triggering explosives that killed 12 soldiers. Another patrol had pursued human soldiers into a tunnel system, only to have it collapse, burying them alive. The humans were using their own fragility as bait, drawing Valerian forces into traps. "They're calling it asymmetric warfare," his intelligence officer explained. "The humans know they can't win conventional battles, so they're not fighting them. They're bleeding us with 1,000 cuts." A transmission came through from Colonel Morrison, the human who'd first contacted them. "General Crickstor, I hope you're enjoying Earth's hospitality. We've noticed your soldiers are getting nervous. Jumpy. Making mistakes. That's good. Scared soldiers are ineffective soldiers. We will crush your resistance," Crickstor replied. "Will you? You've got about 40,000 troops on the ground. We've got 7 billion humans. Even if every one of your soldiers killed 100 of us, you'd still lose. And here's the thing, we're willing to take those casualties. Are you?" The transmission ended. Crickstor knew she was right. The Valerian Empire had never fought a war of attrition. They conquered quickly or moved on. The humans were forcing a different kind of war, one where their numerical advantage and willingness to sacrifice changed everything. That night, a human strike team infiltrated the landing zone and destroyed 3 ships. They lost half their team doing it, but they succeeded. Crickstor watched one human soldier, badly wounded, stay behind to detonate explosives manually while his team escaped. The human had smiled before pushing the trigger. Crickstor finally understood. These humans weren't fighting to win. They were fighting to make victory so costly that the Valorians would leave. And it was working. His officers were requesting recall. His soldiers were demoralized. The Emperor would not be pleased. General Crickstor looked at Earth with new understanding. 17 worlds conquered, and not one had fought like this. Part 4, Psychological Warfare. General Crickstor thought he understood warfare. He'd studied tactics, logistics, and strategy across 100 worlds. But the humans were teaching him a new dimension, psychological warfare. It started subtly. Human radio broadcasts infiltrated Valerian communication channels. Instead of threats, they played music. Haunting melodies, aggressive rhythms, and something the humans called heavy metal, that made Valerian auditory organs hurt. Then came the voice. "Attention Valerian soldiers. You are far from home. You were told this would be easy. But how many of your friends have died? How many more will die before your general admits defeat? Go home. We'll let you leave alive." Crickstor shut down the broadcast, but the damage was done. His soldiers had heard it. Seeds of doubt were planted. The next day, human soldiers began leaving messages at battle sites. Written in Valerian script, somehow they'd learned it, the notes said things like, "We found your squad. We could have killed them while they slept. We chose not to. Next time, we won't be merciful." It was a lie, Crickstor was certain. But it worked. His soldiers became paranoid. They couldn't sleep, constantly expecting attacks that didn't come. When attacks did happen, they were so exhausted they couldn't respond effectively. Then the humans escalated. They began targeting Valerian food supplies with biological agents that made food inedible but weren't lethal. They hacked into Valerian systems and changed the environmental controls, making the ships uncomfortably hot or cold. They disrupted sleep cycles by creating noise at random intervals. "They're not trying to kill us," Crickstor's medical officer reported. "They're trying to drive us insane." A Valerian patrol captured a human specialist, a young man who'd been sabotaging equipment. Under interrogation, he explained the strategy. "We learn from history," the specialist said. "You can't just beat an occupying force militarily. You have to make them want to leave. So we make every day horrible. We make you paranoid. We make you hate being here. Eventually, you'll convince yourself to leave. We are warriors," Krikstor protested. We do not break. The human laughed. Everyone breaks, General. It's just a matter of finding how. For some species, it's physical pain. For others, it's watching comrades die. For you, I think it's the humiliation of realizing you're losing to primitives. Krikstor wanted to strike the human but restrained himself. That's what they wanted, to provoke emotional responses that led to mistakes. The psychological campaign intensified. Humans began projecting images onto Valerian ships at night, casualty counts, photos of dead Valerian soldiers, maps showing how little territory they actually controlled. They broadcasted personal messages from Valerian families back home, begging their soldiers to return safely. How had they intercepted those? Krikstor's communication security was supposed to be impenetrable. General, we have a problem, his security chief said. 3 soldiers have deserted. They stole a shuttle and are heading for the edge of the system. Deserters? This had never happened in Valerian military history. They left a message. They said they don't want to die on this cursed world. They said the humans are right, we can't win. Krikstor felt his authority crumbling. The humans had turned his invasion into a nightmare without winning a single major battle. They'd proven that warfare wasn't just about firepower and tactics. It was about will, and the humans had an infinite supply of it. That evening, another transmission from Colonel Morrison. General, your soldiers are breaking. We can hear it in their communications, see it in their movements. You're not fighting an army anymore. You're fighting a population. And we'll never stop. Never. Your move. For the first time, Krikstor considered the impossible, retreat. General Krikstor called an emergency council with his senior officers. The command deck felt smaller than before, the walls closing in. Every face displayed the same exhaustion, the same doubt. Status report, Krikstor demanded. His tactical officer stepped forward. We control approximately 15% of the primary continent. Human resistance has intensified in the last 48 hours. They've begun coordinated strikes on multiple positions simultaneously. Our casualty rate is unsustainable. The Emperor expects results, Krikstor said, though the words felt hollow. Then tell the Emperor the truth, his second-in-command replied, her voice sharp. This planet cannot be conquered. Not with our current forces. Not with 10 times our current forces. Silence filled the bridge. That statement would have been treason on any other campaign. Now, it felt like common sense. Explain, Krikstor said quietly. The humans have turned everything into a weapon, General. Their architecture, their weather, their population, even their wildlife. Yesterday, a patrol was attacked by Earth creatures the humans called dogs. They've trained their animals to identify us by scent and alert resistance fighters to our positions. Another officer continued, they've poisoned the water supplies we use. They've created false intelligence that sends us into ambushes. They've hacked our equipment so many times our technicians don't trust their own systems anymore. And they're improving. Every day, they learn more about how we function and how to hurt us. Krikstor pulled up footage from the latest engagement. A mixed group of human soldiers, some military, some civilian volunteers, had assaulted a Valerian position. The attack should have failed. The humans had inferior numbers and weapons. But they'd used fire. Simple, primitive fire. They'd surrounded the Valerian position and ignited everything. The Valorians, whose homeworld was cold and dry, had never developed firefighting capabilities. They'd panicked and retreated, abandoning valuable equipment. They're using our biology against us, Krikstor muttered. They studied us and found our weakness. It's more than that, his intelligence officer said. We've intercepted human military communications. They're teaching their people about our psychology, our tactics, our culture. They're sharing information instantly across their entire planet using their internet system. Every human civilian knows our weaknesses. A junior officer spoke up hesitantly, "General, there's something else. The humans are using propaganda. They've been broadcasting footage of our defeats across their planet. They're making us look foolish. Their population believes they're winning." "Because they are winning," Krixtor admitted. The words tasted bitter. "Not through superior force, but through superior will." He pulled up a captured human document, translated by his systems. It was from something called the Marine Corps, a human military unit. "The enemy will have superior numbers and firepower," Krixtor read aloud. "This is expected. Marines win by being tougher, meaner, and more adaptable than any foe. When the enemy thinks they've won, that's when we're most dangerous. No better friend, no worse enemy." His officers absorbed this. They'd been fighting an entire species raised on these principles. "There's a human saying," his cultural specialist added. "It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog." I believe that summarizes our problem perfectly. Krixtor made his decision. Send a message to the Emperor. Request immediate reinforcements or authorization to withdraw. As the message was transmitted, alarms blared. Another human attack, this time on the command ship itself. Somehow, impossibly, humans had infiltrated the vessel. The boarding party was small, only 6 humans. But they moved through the ship like ghosts, disabling systems and leaving explosive charges. By the time Valerian security responded, the humans had already escaped via shuttle, stolen from the landing bay. Krixtor watched them go. One human turned back toward the ship, raised a hand in what the database said was an obscene gesture, and then they were gone. The message was clear: nowhere was safe. The response from the Valerian Emperor arrived 3 days later. No reinforcements. No authorization to retreat. Instead, crush the resistance. Failure is unacceptable. General Krixtor stared at the message, then did something unprecedented. He opened a direct communication channel to Colonel Morrison. "You wish to speak, General?" Morrison appeared on screen, looking as tired as he felt. The war was exhausting both sides. "I want to understand," Krixtor said. "We have superior technology, superior ships, and superior weapons. By every military metric, we should have won. Yet we're losing. Why?" Morrison leaned back in her chair. "You're asking the wrong question, General. It's not about why you're losing. It's about what you're fighting for versus what we're fighting for. Elaborate. Your soldiers are here because the Empire ordered them. They're fighting for conquest, for glory, for the Empire's expansion. If they fail, they go home in shame. If they die, they become statistics." She paused. "Our soldiers are fighting for survival. For their families, their homes, their species. If we fail, we cease to exist. If we die free. That's the difference." Krixtor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "You fight with desperation. We fight with purpose," Morrison corrected. "Let me ask you something, General. How many worlds has the Valerian Empire conquered?" 17 before Earth. "And how many willingly joined?" "That's not how Empire works." "Exactly. You rule through fear and force. But fear is temporary, and force can be resisted. We humans have been fighting oppression for thousands of years. Empires rise and fall on our world like the tide. We've learned that no occupation lasts forever, no matter how powerful the occupier." Krixtor felt something he'd never experienced: respect for an enemy. "Your tactics are innovative. Using our strengths against us. Turning our technology into weaknesses. We learn from the best," Morrison said. "Humans have fought asymmetric wars since ancient times. When the Mongols invaded Japan, typhoons destroyed their fleets. The Japanese called them divine winds. When the British Empire tried to hold America, guerrilla fighters bled them dry. When mechanized armies invaded Vietnam and Afghanistan, insurgents in sandals outlasted superpowers. It's always the same story: the occupier has better weapons, but the defender has better reasons. We could destroy your major cities from orbit, Krixthor said, though without conviction. You could. And then you'd rule ashes. Is that what your emperor wants? A dead planet? Morrison's eyes hardened. Besides, if you escalate to orbital bombardment, we've already planned our response. We'll use every rocket, every plane, every explosive device we have to damage your fleet. We'll make taking Earth so costly that the Valerian Empire never tries to conquer another world. Krixthor realized she meant it. The humans would drag them down into mutual destruction rather than submit. There is another option, Morrison said quietly. Withdrawal. Return to your empire. Tell them Earth is not worth the cost. We'll let your forces leave peacefully. No more attacks, no more casualties. You get to go home. The Emperor would never allow it. Then the Emperor is sending more soldiers to die for nothing, Morrison said bluntly. General, I've been studying your species. The Valerian Empire has existed for 2,000 years. That's impressive. But it's nothing compared to human history. We've been fighting for 50,000 years. We're very, very good at it because we've had to be. You can't win this war because we refuse to lose it. The transmission ended. Krixthor sat in silence, processing everything. His officers watched him, waiting for orders. Finally, he spoke: prepare a report for the Emperor. Include all casualties, all losses, and all tactical assessments. Then add my recommendation. Which is, sir, that we negotiate a withdrawal. These humans have earned their freedom. General Krixthor stood on the bridge as the Valerian fleet prepared to depart Earth's orbit. The decision had taken 2 more weeks of brutal fighting and a personal conversation with the Emperor, but finally, authorization came through. The Valerian Empire was retreating. It wasn't presented as a retreat, of course. The official statement called it a strategic reallocation of resources and a postponement of integration protocols. But everyone knew the truth: the humans had won. Colonel Morrison's face appeared on the viewscreen one final time. General Krixthor. Our forces report that your troops are withdrawing as agreed. We're monitoring to ensure compliance. No more attacks will come, Krixthor assured her. We honor our agreement. Your planet is free. Morrison nodded. I never thought I'd say this to an alien invader, but I respect you, General. You fought honorably, and you were wise enough to recognize reality. That takes courage. I should say the same to you, Colonel. Your species is remarkable. Terrifying, but remarkable. Krixthor hesitated, then asked, what will you do now? When word spreads about what happened here, others may come. Let them come, Morrison said with a slight smile. We'll be ready. You've taught us what to expect from alien invasions. We're already adapting, already preparing. The next species that tries this will have an even harder time. A warning, then, Krixthor said seriously. Not all species will negotiate. Some will simply destroy your world from a distance. Then we'll build better defenses. We'll reach for the stars ourselves and meet them as equals rather than victims. Her expression hardened. We're a young species, General, but we learn fast. In a few generations, we'll be out there among the stars. And we'll remember who tried to conquer us and who approached us with respect. The implications were clear. Earth would not remain isolated much longer. The galaxy would have to contend with humans as neighbors, allies, or enemies. I will include a recommendation in my official report, Krixthor said. That Earth be classified as a prohibited world. Too dangerous for conquest, too costly for occupation. I appreciate that. Morrison glanced at something off-screen, then back. Your last shuttle is lifting off now. The war is over, General. The war is over, Krixthor agreed. But I suspect humanity's story is just beginning. As the transmission ended, his tactical officer approached. General, the fleet is ready. All personnel accounted for. We suffered 40% casualties overall, highest in Valerian history for a single campaign. Noted in the records, Krixthor ordered. And note this as well, humanity is not to be underestimated. They possess technology we could defeat, but they possess spirit we could not break. That combination makes them more dangerous than any species we've encountered. The fleet began its departure, Earth shrinking in the viewports. Krixthor would spend the journey home preparing his report, knowing it would change Valerian strategic doctrine forever. His communications officer interrupted his thoughts. General, we're receiving a final transmission from Earth. Audio only. Play it. Music filled the bridge, a human song with driving rhythm and defiant lyrics. Krixthor's translator parsed the words. We are the champions, my friends. And we'll keep on fighting till the end. It was a message of victory, but also a warning. Humanity would keep fighting, no matter the odds, no matter the cost. They were survivors, warriors, and most dangerous of all, they were unified by the experience of facing annihilation together. As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, Krixthor made a personal log entry. Day 47 of the Earth campaign. Final entry. We arrived expecting an easy conquest. We leave having learned a profound lesson. Military superiority means nothing against an enemy that refuses to accept defeat. Technology cannot compensate for lack of purpose. The Valerian Empire has always relied on force. The humans taught us that force alone is insufficient. I have spent my career studying warfare. I thought I understood it. But these humans, fragile, short-lived, technologically inferior, they showed me warfare in its purest form. Not as a political tool or a path to glory, but as a matter of survival. And in survival, they are unmatched. The galaxy should fear the day humans reach the stars. Not because they are aggressive, but because they are indomitable. Any species that can evolve on that death world, that can create art and philosophy while fighting constant extinction, that can laugh in the face of impossible odds, that species will reshape the galaxy. I am humbled. I am defeated. But I am also grateful for the lesson. The Valerian Empire will be stronger for understanding what we faced. Final assessment, these human soldiers are unbelievable. End log. As Earth disappeared from the view screens, General Krixthor allowed himself one final thought, perhaps defeat was not failure, but education. And humanity had been excellent teachers. The war was over. But for both species, everything had changed. The end.